Please rise for the national anthem.
Welcome, friends, families, and especially to the members of the class of 2026. My name is Elizabeth Kronk-Warner, and I have the privilege and honor to serve as Dean of the S.J. College of Law. Now, in order to make this officially official, you know it's not there. It hasn't really happened until we post it on social media, okay? So class of 2026, smile. Graduation. Yes. Now, as we do when we gather in large groups, I want to start with our University of Utah Tribal Land Acknowledgement Statement. We acknowledge that this land, which is named for the Ute tribe, is the traditional and ancestral homeland of the Shoshone, Paiute, Goshute, and Ute tribes. The University of Utah recognizes and respects the enduring relationship that exists between many indigenous peoples and their traditional homelands. We respect the sovereign relationship between tribes, states, and the federal government, and we affirm the University of Utah's commitment to a partnership with Native nations and urban Indian communities through research, education, and community outreach activities. We are so incredibly pleased to be joined on stage today by an incredible faculty. In fact, we have so many faculty. The little delay there at the beginning was because they were getting extra chairs. They're really amazing. So would you please, faculty, stand and be recognized? Please be seated, except for you, Bob Kiter. Now, I want to take a moment to recognize Professors Amos Giora and Robert Kiter. Unfortunately, Professor Giora is unable to be here today, but Professor Kiter is here. Now, the university recently recognized Professor Kiter with the university's Hatch Prize in Teaching, which recognizes excellence in teaching over a sustained period of time. The university also recently recognized Professor Giora as a Presidential Impact Scholar for his work on ecosystems that enable abusers. Congratulations, Professor Giora and Kiter. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge one of our graduating JD students who also won a university-wide award this year. Christopher Smith, please stand. Now, Chris was named the University of Utah's Student Veteran of the Year, in part for serving, as student director for the Veterans Pro Bono legal site and raising funds for an endowed scholarship for veterans pursuing legal education degrees. Congratulations, Christopher. Now, speaking of our amazing veterans and those serving in the military, will all of our veterans and service members please stand and be recognized? Thank you. I would also like to present what our students know is the secret ingredient of the SJQ College of Law, and that's our staff. The magic that happens during the school year simply would not be possible without our fantastic staff. And so I ask these individuals in the audience to please stand, wave, and be recognized. Now, in addition to our wonderful faculty, staff, and students, I would also like to welcome some very special guests who we are honored to host today, and in my opinion, maybe are the best of the various boards of trustees. University of Utah trustee Katie Eccles, who is of counsel at Ray, Quinney, and Nebaker. Trustee Eccles also serves as chair of the University of Utah Board of Trustees. She is also joined by University of Utah trustee Jamie Sorensen, who is a shareholder at Ray, Quinney, and Nebaker. And last but certainly not least, Garrett Largent, who is a member of the board of the Utah System of Higher Education. Thank you for joining us today. Now, last but absolutely not least, I want to welcome our keynote speaker, Kem Gardner, from the College of Law class of 1970. Now, Kem C. Gardner is one of Utah's most distinguished civic leaders, entrepreneurs, and philanthropists. After earning his degree from the University of Utah in 1970 and serving as a U.S. Senate aide in Washington, D.C., he co-founded the Boyer Company and later established the Gardner Company. Over more than 50 years, Kem helped develop over 35 million square feet of real estate across the Intermountain West. He served as the chairman of the Utah State Board of Regents, and he is also a key figure in bringing the 2002 Winter Olympics to Salt Lake City. He also founded the Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute at the University of Utah. He was named, quote, a giant in our city by the Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce. Kem is a builder, not only of buildings, but of a community. A man who believes that when we see things that need to be done, we get after it. We're very pleased to have him as our keynote. Now, what has become a fun tradition at the SJQ College of Law, before this ceremony began, we show pictures of our graduating students, both as children and now as graduates of the SJQ College of Law. It is truly remarkable to see just how far they've come. Let's reflect on a few of these. Aww, look at that. Who do we think that is? Oh, it's Mikey Reynolds from the MLS class. Oh, who else? Oh, look at that. Look at that smile. Who's that? Oh, it's Hannah Bruce from the JD class. Well, who do we have next? Oh, that looks maybe a little older, maybe? Who's that? Oh, it's Associate Dean of Academic Affairs, Louisa Heine. Who else do we, oh, look at that nice velour shirt, maybe from the 1970s. Oh, it's Dean of Students and Career Development, Brian Burton. Oh, look at that, reading at Christmas time. Who's that? Oh, it's Dean of Faculty and Research, Matt Tuxen. Well, that's so lovely, okay. Oh no. Who's that? How did you get that picture? I don't know how that got in there. But now that we have all seen the before and after pictures, I hope that this proves that you can still smile after law school. Now, when we first met, who would have guessed everything you would have overcome? You may not recall, but at your orientation, then Associate Dean for Admissions and Financial Aid, Reyes Aguilar, gave your class a word he thought encapsulated your class. That word was nuanced, meaning having subtle and often appealingly complex qualities and distinctions. Dean Aguilar could not have picked a better word for your class. As we celebrate the day and all you have accomplished, it is the perfect time to reflect on our namesake, S.J. Quinney, whose impact remains a model of meaningful nuance. S.J. or Joe Quinney was a talented lawyer, prominent businessman, and ski industry pioneer. He was a founding partner in the distinguished Salt Lake City law firm of Ray, Quinney, and Nebaker, where he practiced until his death at age 90. A pioneer in establishing Utah's ski industry by founding the Alta ski area, Quinney was a prime force in the development of Utah's legal and business communities. His lifelong interest in art and culture broadened the force of his statewide impact. Like S.J. Quinney, your impact is of tremendous nuance. You have already made the world a better place despite tremendous obstacles. You, class of 2026, are truly outstanding. Now let's reflect on just some of the things you have accomplished these past few days. Now, I am about to share the many accomplishments of the class of 2026. And I know you're all going to want to applaud after each one. But so that we get out of here before 5 p.m., please hold your applause until I'm done. So the class of 2026 completed over 2,100 volunteer pro bono hours serving clients in needs. Just so you know, that's 600 hours more than the class of 2025. Matt McGrath volunteered with PBI the most, topping off at 400 hours of volunteering. And he won the Outstanding Pro Bono Student Volunteer Award. Audrey Meyer dreamed up and launched an estate planning program where Utahns can come in and receive a free basic will, healthcare directive, and power of attorney. Audrey is also the recipient of the Utah State Bar's Pro Bono Publico Student of the Year. Wow. The class of 2026's nuance extended in many ways, making our S.J. Quinney College of Law program and community better. Your Student Bar Association, led by President Braun Lohr, did a fantastic job of hosting many wonderful events like our ping pong tournament, as well as working with the College of Law on really issues of great importance. I want to acknowledge all of those who have served on the SBA during their time at the College of Law, starting with President Braun Lohr, Kyle Andrews, Hayden Ridd, Lindsay Allen, Sydney Brubaker, Amanda Moody, Lucy Christensen, Polly Shakespeare. Now, at our annual Alumni Awards Gala 2 weeks ago, the Student Bar Association gave out its awards. And I was pleased to see these folks honored for their exceptional contributions to the College of Law, including Outstanding 3L Mentor, Gloria Aquino, Outstanding 3L Student Leader, Braun Lohr, Outstanding 3L Colleague, Chris Smith. Outstanding 3L Community Advocate, Audrey Meyer. And outstanding MLS colleague, Polly Shakespeare. Further, the nuance and impact of the Utah Law Review remains unmatched. This year's Utah Law Review Symposium, Fireproofing the FDA, Power, Politics, and Public Health, added significantly to the development of law as it examined the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, focusing on proposals to strengthen medical product vetting while considering the political influence on the organization. We are so thankful for all the members of Class of 2026 who served on the Law Review, including Kyle Andrews, Gloria Aquino, Molly Biederber, Cheyenne Blackburn, Grant Boyden, Lane Burgess, Rachel Bonowitz, Will Clark, Brooke Hodgson Davies, Andrew Durham, Kirsten Davies, Renee Farmer, Brady Fuller, Ashley Fink, Henry Flitton, Margaret Gibson, Ashlyn Hall, Brianna Hickerson, Sophie Jensen, Kyle Lowe, William Lovell, Andy Madsen, Matthew McGrath, Amanda Moody, Claire Menzel, Taylor Ann Pike, Emily Pellegrino, Victoria Schmidt, Camden Reese, Christopher Smith, Joshua Sudicum, Elena Trombetta, Sebastian Wagner, Brian Waterman, Sydney Wilson, and Jack Wolfius. The nuanced impact of your reach was not limited to the SBA and the Utah Law Review. Several members of the class of 2026 started new student groups, such as the English Premier League Observer Society, started by Matthew McGrath, Kyle Lowe, and Hector Mazan-Aris. The Jewish Law Students Association was started by Zachary Rose. The Parents and Caregivers Club at SJQ was started by Brooke Davies, AC Rather, Taylor Hill, Abby Forrest, and our tennis club was started by Henry Flitton, Gavin McElroy, and Hector Manzares. You may have made your mark on competitions teams as well. So in the 2025 Trainer Moot Court Interest Law School Finals, our petitioners were Lane Burgess and Ruben Castron. And on the respondent side, we had Gloria Aquino and Amanda Moody. Lane Burgess, Ruben Castron, and Brady Fuller then went on to represent the College of Law in the National Moot Court competition the following fall. Abigail Alexander, Gloria Aquino, Will Clark, Brianna Hickerson, Sophie Jensen, and Isaac Santos all represented the College of Law at the National Native American Law Students Association Moot Court competition across the past 3 years. Anya Bixkopiak, Elena Trombetta, and Taylor Pike were our first team ever to participate in the National Health Law Transactions competition at Loyola University Chicago College of Law. 2 teams consisting of Angelo Haley and Mitchell Smith and Zephram Childs and Taylor Hill represented Utah at the UCLA Transactional Law competition in Los Angeles. The team of Zephram Childs and Taylor Hill won first place for Best Negotiation and also Best Draft on the seller's side. Taylor Crittenden, along with his teammate Sydney Starr, who's a rising 3L, now a 2L, won second place in the nation for the ABA Law Student Tax Challenge in San Diego, California, where they presented their findings on a complex tax problem before a panel of judges consisting of the country's top tax practitioners and government officials. Andy Madsen, Claire Menzel, and Kyle Lowell competed in the Jeffrey G. Miller National Environmental Moot Court competition in New York. Andy Madsen was awarded the Best Oralist Honorable Mention for the entire competition. This means that Andy had the second best score in the preliminary rounds out of approximately 160 competitors. The team of Braden Brown and James Finn, now a 2L, placed second in the regional round of the 2026 National Patent Application Drafting Competition, put on by the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Utah sent 2 teams consisting of Eliza Murad and Charles Moffett and Constance Holder and Wyatt Truell to the national trial competition in Seattle. In a region with some of the most trained and skilled teams in the country, our teams did an amazing job of representing Utah. And while they didn't win the Jessup International Moot Court competition, the team of Sydney Brubaker, Connor Davis, Henry Flitton, Margaret Gibson, and Derek Peterson did recently beat the escape room record at the Gateway for fastest time solving the Pirate's Curse. It was seriously nuanced and impressive. The class of 2026 reach extended in so many other ways. For example, Kyle Lowell, Claire Menzel, and Isaac Santos spent 4 days over their spring break working on the Navajo-Utah Water Rights Settlement Agreement with several environmental justice clinics community partners in the Navajo Nation. They gave educational presentations at several chapter houses and interviewed community members about water access and use. Kyle Lowell also spent 3 semesters working with the law school's Great Salt Lake project. He published several op-eds with Professors Daniel and Parker. He, along with others in our Environmental Policy Accelerator class, helped leaders find ways to get more water to the Great Salt Lake. He also created a really cool banner for the College of Law's Great Salt Lake project that reads, "Water to the Lake." It is a little wonder that Kyle was honored by the Student Bar Association as most likely to save the Great Salt Lake. In the International Law Clinic, Hayden Ridd, Sydney Brubaker, and Joshua Sudicum traveled to the United Nations headquartered in New York City, where they delivered a half-day training to UN staff on strengthening pathways for Indigenous peoples recognition. Alessandra Coote finished up an amazing year as president of the Federalist Society here, including bringing many outstanding speakers. Because of her work here with our Utah student chapter, she was invited to attend the Federalist Society's National Lawyers Convention to introduce the Rosencrantz debate, which spoke about the importance of free speech. And she also had the honor of being featured in the Federalist Society President Sheldon Gilmart's, a graduate of the University of Utah, remarks at the Anton Scalia Memorial Dinner about her oath to the Constitution that she took as a West Point officer. Andy Madsen authored the article, "The Dinosaur Age is Over, The Case for Congressionally Reforming the General Mining Law of 1872, that was published in the Utah Law Review. Matthew McGrath co-authored an article with me titled Advancing Tribal Co-Management, Lessons Learned from International Comparisons, that was published in the Kansas Law Review. Jack Wothius co-authored an article with Associate Professor Daniel Aaron titled Designating Cartels as Terrorist Organizations, The Wrong Path to Addressing the Illicit Fentanyl Crisis, that was published by the American Journal of Public Health. Thomas Newman and Kevin Strant completed the College of Law's first ever placement with the Utah Mammoth ice hockey team. Alana Trombetta co-authored an article with Adjunct Associate Professor Robert Harrison titled From Decision Supporter to Informed Surrogate, an Improved Approach to Enrolling Cognitively Impaired Subjects in Clinical Research, which was published in the Journal of Law, Medicine, and Ethics. Taylor Pike co-authored an article with Associate Professor Daniel Aaron and Boston College law professor Mary Ann Cherba titled FDA Must Regulate Stem Cell Therapies to Mitigate Risks to Patients and the Public, which was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Renee Farmer and Professor Aaron wrote Loper Bright's Deregulatory Synergies, which was published in the Seton Hall Law Review. It was a symposium article, and they are also working on writing a book chapter on intellectual property, privatization, and public health, and Elgar's Research Handbook on Intellectual Property and Health. Sonia Chedich, with Professor Aaron, wrote Health Regulation at Risk, the Supreme Court and Women's Health in the Journal of General Internal Medicine. Gavin McElroy has been helping Utah cities rewrite their municipal codes. Grant Boyden can make a paper airplane ring. Yes, a ring of paper that flew through the air. He can fold it, toss it, and when it nosedives towards the ground, it unfolded itself, spontaneously self-destructing. Truly impressive. And last, but certainly not least, Josh Sudicum and Hayden Ridd, as member of the team Goldilocks and the Quizzly Bears, won the year-long Jeopardy championship this year. Now, our MLS students have made an equally broad impact. Between the online and in-person programs, our MLS cohort as a whole is 27 students strong, 29% of whom are first generation, and 5 students already hold master's and doctorate level qualifications. Our students enhance Salt Lake City and national community working in compliance, human resources, healthcare, education, natural resource management, and many other fields. Many in this class have spent years sustaining their families as caregivers and parents, exercising profound judgment, strategic thinking, and unwavering care. Those who have come directly from their undergraduate studies have honed their intellect and now step forward as thoughtful, capable, and promising legal professionals. 40% of our students in the MLS class work somewhere in the University of Utah system. As to our individual students in the MLS cohort, we have 2 medical doctors who are engaging in our healthcare concentration. Dr. Ronak Iqbal is Director of Medicaid, Utah Department of Health and Human Services, and Dr. Irma Fleming serves as the University of Utah Burn Unit Associate Director. Jason Jarvie, Erica Santos Medina, and Lisa Zupaniasik work in varying law enforcement roles supporting keeping our community safe and advocating for crime victims. Mikey Reynolds leads compliance at Zion's Bank Corporation. Taylor Lockwood, an entrepreneur and teacher, shares her creative gifts and bright mind as a music teacher and a business owner. Now, this doesn't even to begin to capture everything the class of 2026 has accomplished. But this glimpse hints at all the great things they are going to accomplish. The world is a better place with you in it. And I am so very glad for all of you. Congratulations, class of 2026. I can't wait to see all you will do as alumni. Remember, you always have a home here at SJQ. And always, always, always remember, we love you. Congratulations, you did it!
Good morning, everyone. I am Polly Shakespeare, the liaison for the in-person cohort for the Master of Legal Studies program. I am honored to have the opportunity today to reflect on the amazing program I've been a part of and offer my gratitude for the experiences I've had during my time here at SJQ. I must start by extending all the gratitude I can to my incredible, all-female in-person cohort. I have been so lucky to enjoy the companionship and experience that every one of them has brought to each class period. For the past year, we have met together every other Friday and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The dedication of my classmates has made coming to class a joy, and I still don't want to think too much about what the future looks like when my Fridays and Saturdays aren't filled by spending time with them. As excited as I am to move into the opportunities that a bright future holds, there's always a piece of my heart and mind that will remain in these memories with my classmates. I could not work half as hard or learn half as much as I have if you weren't the people by my side through it all. I am a better person, a better advocate, and a better citizen because you are my friends. Over the course of this program, I have learned to have more confidence in myself and my abilities. However, the full force of this confidence could not have developed as it has without the support of my friends. There usually came a point in the middle of the semester where I felt overwhelmed. My understanding of the material did not always align with the effort I put in, and it felt like there was a significant disconnect. I remember feeling particularly discouraged after one class where it seemed like every answer I had offered to the professor's questions was wrong or lacking in some way. I will not specify which class this was. My feelings of foolishness started giving way to discouragement. However, as my classmates and I waited for the next class, others expressed their admiration of how I had engaged in class that day. They told me that they admired my ability to ask questions and offer thoughts on the class material. While I was privately having a pity party of one and berating myself for the messiness of getting things wrong, my classmates were looking up to me for my willingness to engage and put myself out there in the pursuit of knowledge. When we give ourselves and others space to learn, we are in the process of building up that confidence. Developing confidence requires stepping outside of oneself and being able to show up for your ideas, even when they are flawed and imperfect. Confidence strengthens when you know you have people in your corner who will make space for your imperfect ideas while you develop something better. The MLS program is filled with people committed to building up that confidence. Another highlight of my time in the MLS program has been to observe the sincerity and zeal that instructors and class visitors bring to the law. The in-person cohort was honored last semester to be visited by Fred Voros, an appellate attorney who spent 8 years as the presiding judge of the Utah Court of Appeals. His career and experiences were certainly impressive and important to learn about, but it was the way he made me feel while listening to him that has stuck with me more. From the beginning, he took the time to sincerely connect with the class. He spoke respectfully of his other colleagues, regardless of what side they were arguing on in court. It was clear that he valued both the support and the opposition that others had provided over the course of his career. He passionately shared his views and convictions, reminding us that what we learn in this program will help us take care of one another and others who cross our paths. We have each spent semesters building up a foundation of knowledge, and experience will come with time as we throw ourselves into the unknown. As we are at the end of our collective law school experience, we must remember to bring that sincerity and that zeal with us to the opportunities that come our way. All of us are here today because we have achieved great things, but we could not achieve these great things without the support of the communities around us. We are each bolstered by love, camaraderie, and genuine trust in our commitment to safeguarding society for all, forever looking outside of ourselves in hope of a more perfect union. Just as we need strong future attorneys to continue to push the field forward, we need legally minded and trained individuals in adjacent fields that can combine legal thinking with principles of other disciplines. We aspire to improve the citizenship, collaboration, and opportunity that is integral to American society when we support those who make unexpected connections between the law and other fields. We together make each other better, and we together make society stronger. I am endlessly grateful for these strengthening connections I currently enjoy due to my time in the Master of Legal Studies program. Congratulations once again to all of this year's graduates of the SJQ College of Law.
I didn't get here by being the strongest person in the room. I got here by breaking and choosing to get back up anyways, again and again. Somewhere in that process, I learned something that this program gave me language for. I am rare. My name is Lucy Christensen. I'm 21 years old, graduating with my Master of Legal Studies after earning my bachelor's in international relations at 20 years old. Rare, not exceptional, impressive, or perfect. Rare doesn't mean flawless. It means uncommon. It means hard-earned. It means you have something that most people don't, especially when it would have been easier not to. And if there's one thing I know about the people sitting here today, is there's nothing ordinary about what it took to get here. I don't just see future attorneys and professionals in this room. I see people who are good and carry their own histories, hard ones, quiet ones, the kind you don't always talk about out loud. And still, you showed up, you kept going, and you got here anyway. I graduated from high school with my associate's degree. I graduated from the U with my bachelor's at 20. And today, at 21 years old, I stand here with a Master of Legal Studies. While those milestones may look a little clean on paper, the truth is they were not. It taught me the kind of lessons that you don't put on a resume, the kind you don't publicly celebrate, the kind that asks you to sit in discomfort, to face things you wish had never happened, to learn forgiveness, not because someone earned it, but because you needed it. At the start of the year, I set a goal. I wanted to be a villager for my village. I wanted to show up for the people around me, to give everything I had. But along the way, a few things happened I didn't expect, and I found myself needing my village more than ever. And in that, somehow I was able to see how beautiful my village already was. The people sitting here with me today, you are my world, and more than that, you are the kind of people I hope to grow up to be. I hope to go into foreign affairs, into mediation, into the spaces where conflict feels impossible to untangle. This summer, I'll be researching in India public sexual harassment on women and legal literacy. After that, I'll be teaching English to elementary students in Thailand for a year because at my core, I've always believed that education is the way to change people's lives. This program didn't just teach me about law, it gave me language. Language for systems, injustice, and the structures that shape people's lives long before they step into a courtroom. It gave me a place for my passion for fighting for human rights within the law, because once you see how the law shapes injustice, protection, and silence, you don't unsee it. I started traveling at a young age, and now that I've reached 37 countries, movement has become something that is very normal to me. New places, new people, new beginnings. It stopped feeling like something I did and started feeling like something I lived in. Home, in a traditional sense, has always been hard to define because I've learned that home isn't always a fixed place for me. It's often where the next chapter begins. Sometimes it's a country, sometimes it's around my people, and sometimes it's a version of myself I haven't met until I've gotten there. I've also learned that over time, belonging isn't just standing still in a one place long enough to be claimed. It's often about continuing forward without losing what matters most to you along the way. Before I close, I want to thank my mom. You're the reason I'm standing here today. You taught me what it looks like to keep going when things get heavy, even when giving up would have been much easier. So as you leave here today, carry everything you survived to get here. Carry everything you learned when no one was watching. Carry the version of you that didn't give up, because that's the truth of who you are. And I'm not done yet. I hope you're ready to see how I'm going to change the world.
Good morning. My name is Eliza Murad, and I'm honored to be speaking on behalf of the JD class of 2026. When I think about these last 3 years, I don't first think about grades, finals, or even graduation. I think about faces. There are 97 of us, and the best part about SJQ is that I can look across this room and recognize every single one. For 3 years, this building became our world. The study spaces, the quiet corners before exams, and the familiar walk to class. The mountain views that reminded us there was still a world outside of law school. In a profession that can often feel impersonal and hierarchical, we were shaped in a place where no one was anonymous. If someone was missing, we noticed. If someone was struggling, someone else stepped in. And that mattered. Because I came into this profession knowing it has not always reflected everyone equally, and I wondered whether I would feel like I truly belonged. But here I did. I felt welcome, supported, and expected to succeed. And I know I'm not the only one who has found confidence because someone made space for us at the table. And law school was never just about mastering doctrine. It was our coffee line conversations before class, whispering, "Did you understand the reading?" and feeling sigh of relief when the answer was no. It was Dean Burton, always there to remind us that one cold call or one difficult semester did not define us. It was the annual Quinney Open, the 1L memo toss, and the sacred bowl of candy in the CDO office, which has sustained us more than we'd like to admit. And yes, it was 1L OCIs, wearing our suits in January and refreshing our inboxes, trying to sound confident while quietly questioning everything. And yes, it was Professor Peterson. Whether in contracts or con law, nothing recalibrated your sense of preparedness quite like hearing your name in that classroom. At the time, it felt like fear, but in hindsight, it was discipline. It taught us to think carefully, speak precisely, and take this work seriously. And somewhere along the way, we also became fluent in the language of law school. IRAC, blue booking, and the impeccable ability to say it depends with complete confidence. But what we were learning was never abstract. Through clinics, externships, and pro bono work, many of us saw that the law is not just a system of rules. It is access and it is protection. And sometimes it is the only barrier between vulnerability and injustice. And we learned that justice is not automatic. It requires preparation, it requires competence, and it requires showing up when someone cannot advocate for themselves. And there were moments when many of us doubted ourselves after difficult exams or missed opportunities or semesters that didn't go as planned. Moments when this finish line felt very far away, but those moments did not define us. What defined us was showing up again the next day, trying again, doing the readings, submitting that brief, taking that exam, and most importantly, showing up for each other. SJQ gave us more than knowledge. It gave us tools. Tools to analyze carefully, to argue ethically, to agree without dehumanizing, to listen before responding, and to recognize the responsibility that comes with being the most prepared person in the room. Because soon, what we will write will not be graded, it will be filed. And what we say will not just be theoretical, it will affect people, families, liberties, livelihoods. That is the weight of this profession. But we did not carry that weight alone. We learned it in a class small enough to know each other, where encouragement was real and the competition never outweighed humanity. 3 years ago, we came here hoping to become lawyers, and today we leave as lawyers. But more importantly, we leave as steadier people. And none of us got here alone. To our families, friends, and loved ones, thank you. Thank you for carrying us through the long nights, the stress, and the doubt, for believing in us, especially on the days we struggle to believe in ourselves. And to my parents, Mama, Baba, this is for you. For every sacrifice you made, for every prayer you whispered, for every opportunity you created so I could stand here today. This degree may have my name on it, but it belongs to you too. Class of 2026, the profession we are entering is imperfect. It always has been. But it remains one of the most powerful tools for accountability, justice, and change. And we are ready. Not because we know everything, but because we know how to prepare. And I know we will carry this responsibility with integrity. There are 97 of us, and wherever we go next, whether it's courtrooms, firms, public service, business, policy, we carry with us what this place built and instilled in us: competence, character, and compassion, and the memory of a place we were known. Congratulations, class of 2026.
Good morning, class of 2026. For the guests in the audience, I'm Braun Lohr, the current Student Bar Association president. I woke up today unsure if it was actually a dream, the moment we've all been looking forward to for at least 3 years, finally here at last. I have known since I was elected last year that I would have the opportunity to speak at graduation. That's approximately 410 days. So of course, being the responsible and diligent law student that I am, I started working on this speech last week at 8 p.m., the day before I was supposed to submit it for closed captioning. I continued to put in edits up until this morning. But of course, this procrastination did not stop me from stressing about it for all 400 plus days. As I expressed my stress to my friends and my family about the looming pressure to write something meaningful and memorable for graduation, the resounding response was simply to use AI to write a speech for me. Seeing how my character and fitness examination is still ongoing, Dean Burton, you'll be happy to hear that this speech is 100% me. So let's jump in. Sure, Braun, here's a speech you can use at graduation. I'm just kidding. In all seriousness, as a class, you've accomplished so much. As you just heard from Dean Kronkorner, you've clerked for Supreme Court justices, won competitions, published articles, and callied classes. You've started relationships, grown families, and developed individually. You've made friends, met colleagues, and kickstarted careers. You've quimbied your way through classes that you didn't read for, but you've also dominated opposing counsel at trial. You have accomplished more than I ever thought possible by a group of people who just a few years ago were scared of Professor Peterson's cold calls. Despite all this amazing growth and development, at the end of the day, I'm not Judge Learned Hand. I don't have some balancing test to guide you throughout your career in life. Unfortunately, there's more than just a few factors to consider as you become the professionals you've been fighting to become for 3 years. I have not yet achieved clairvoyance, but what I have done is heard from a lot of people. Lawyers are kind of known for their unsolicited opinions. So what I hope to pass along today is the most important advice that has guided me for years. First, to cite my sources, this is the same advice I got from Seth as I stepped into my role as SBA president. The same advice that changed my academic performance from merely coasting back in undergrad to actually achieving through law school. The same advice I got from a partner at the firm, which moved my career further than just clerking. Most importantly, the very same advice I received from Dean Burton, the very advice that I believe he embodies daily. It boils down to a simple 4-letter word: care. Caring can look like a lot of different things. Caring is texting a classmate the answer to the cold call, like so many of you have done for me. Caring is sharing your outline to those who need it. It's volunteering to help another clerk who has fallen behind on their projects. It's taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down with a 1-0 who's nervous about their interview. Caring is showing up for events purely for the benefit of those to follow and helping strangers out of unfortunate situations. The simple act of caring is the most meaningful thing you can do. We have all heard that actions speak louder than words, so I encourage you not only act, but act with this conscious intention. People can sense when you're genuinely invested, and it's that investment that is the magic. The special cement that holds this legal community together. The difference of just being another face in the hallway or courtroom versus being someone who people remember with fondness. When you think back to some of your favorite people at SJQ, what's one thing they all have in common? Your professor who stays after class to explain the rule of perpetuities one last time? Your favorite staff who listen with all their heart when you need to rant about an assignment? Or your fellow students who always found a way to lift you up and cheer you on? They all cared, and I encourage you to do the same in your own way. Speaking of being cared for, be sure to take a moment today and thank each of those who made this degree possible. Those who made law school bearable: your partner, your family, your friends, and everyone at SJQ who was there for you during your exam week breakdowns. I would like to use this moment to personally thank my wife, Gwen, for keeping me sane throughout law school. Thank you for pretending to be interested in the rants about legal nuances and encouraging me to keep moving forward whenever I lost motivation. I hope each of my classmates can find someone half as amazing as Gwen. I also want to thank my family for believing in me, my friends for giving me distractions to help me forget about the stresses of law school. There's simply no pot of gold equivalent to this community that cares and uplifts its own. The treasure, ironically, was really the friends we made along the way. As I approach the end of my allotted time, I want to remind you that each of you will go on to do great things. Every single grad here has the power and opportunity to change lives. Some of you will become honorable judges or educational professors. Some will change laws, and others will create monumental legal precedent. Each of you, in your own way, will pave your path to success. I know it. Congratulations again, class of 2026. I cannot imagine a better group of people to do this with. I'm excited to work alongside all of you. Each of you have the power to change the world, but the most important thing you can do is to care. Thank you.
Wow, what amazing speeches. Listening to the speeches of our student speakers, I am excited for the future and know that you will accomplish so much. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Kem Gardner, from the College of Law class of 1970, to the stage. As I mentioned earlier, Kem has had a truly remarkable career and has made a profound impact on our community. it is truly an honor to have him here. Kem Gardner.
Thank you, Dean Warner. And I want to thank these great speakers today. We've got really wonderful, a lot of graduates. And I want to tell Katie and Jamie how good they look in their new Regents outfits. Well, faculty, family, most importantly, graduating class of 26, you have earned this special day. You're our best and our brightest. You've arrived here through long nights, difficult exams, lectures, relentless studying, and a quiet persistence that no one sees but you. And now you sit on the edge of something both thrilling and uncertain, a future that may not look exactly like you once imagined. But in 84 years of living, the most important lesson I've learned is that the most meaningful paths are rarely the most predictable ones. I also believe your ability to engage the critical thinking skills that you've learned here in the law school are going to get you through the hard times. I now am going to tell you a few of the things that my law degree helped me to. I sat where you are, full of ambition, but a little unsure of, but I was absolutely convinced I had a plan to practice law. I attended the University of Utah, received a 3-year scholarship to law school, worked hard, became an editor of the Law Review, and had my article on defamation recognized with the Stephen Traynor Award for outstanding legal writing. But upon graduation, I interviewed with some local law firms, received some good offers, Katie from your firm too. But with the dean's encouragement, I pursued and accepted an offer from Gibson, Dunn & Crutcher in LA. By every conventional measure, I was on a clear path to practice law. My wife, Carolyn, and our 1-year-old daughter were packed and ready for me to start studying for the California bar. And then the phone rang. I received a surprising call from U.S. Senator Frankie Moss, inviting me to come to Washington and serve as his chief of staff. With Carolyn's enthusiastic encouragement, I said yes. She grew up in Washington, D.C. I didn't realize at the time that by saying yes, I was also saying no to ever taking the Utah bar and practicing law. So how did I get there? Well, during my first year of law school, I was driving down First South when I saw the Hubert Humphrey for President headquarters, and I stopped and went in for some literature. A fellow law student was working there, and he asked if I wanted to help find delegates for Hubert. There was strong opposition from Wayne Owens working for Robert Kennedy. Well, I accepted the challenge, ended up speaking for Humphrey at all the county and even the state conventions. We won in Utah, and I was privileged to sit with Senator Moss and Hubert Humphrey in the Tabernacle when Senator Humphrey gave that great speech breaking with Lyndon Johnson on the Vietnam War. Well, the next time I encountered Senator Moss was when my law professor, Ed Firmage, knowing of my political interest, invited me to hear Senator Muskie of Maine speak at the Union Building. He said he'd pick me up at my humble apartment. The night of the event, a big black limo pulled up, and a driver opened the door for me. Professor Firmage was riding with his grandfather, Hugh B. Brown, a member of the LDS Church First Presidency. Of course, we sat at the head table. and I was seated next to Senator Moss. Professor Firmage introduced me, making me look much better than I am. And those two encounters were the only times I remember meeting the senator before the phone call that changed my life. Politics does open doors. It was a heady experience in D.C. We had another child, a redheaded son. We also bought a townhome in Potomac. The Senate compensated very well. And Senator Moss used me in ways that I could have never imagined. Gene Westwood of Utah was named by McGovern to be the head of the Democratic National Committee, and Senator Moss sent me down to Watergate to help her get organized. I met important people from D.C. and those on the McGovern Steering Committee. I even met the owner of the Redskins, the Commanders, who took me to some football games. And because Moss was head of Aeronautical and Space Science, and because my former university president, James Fletcher, was head of NASA, I was invited with Carolyn to the launches of Apollo and the Skylab. And NASA flew us down to the Cape and once to Houston to see the development of the Skylab. Wallace Bennett, one of my law professors, I invited to come back to an Apollo launch. Well, it was a great experience taking the Skylab astronauts to Lake Powell so that they could see on the ground what they saw in space. Then perhaps the most surreal chapter in my young life, President Nixon invited me to be one of 10 young Americans, 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans, to tour major cities of the Soviet Union as guests of Premier Brezhnev. It was an unbelievable experience to stand at the foot of Lenin's tomb and watch the October military parade. For a kid off the farm in Wyoming, it was thrilling and chilling. We really don't have military parades here with missiles and tanks and goose-stepping soldiers, troops. Well, at the conclusion of the Russian trip, Senator Moss sent me back to Utah to help Cal Rampton be elected as governor. I holed up with my family in Little America and helped run the campaign, during which I met all of the political leaders and good people from around the state of Utah. Well, my path was not a straight line, but it was following opportunities that gave me the greatest chance to learn, to grow, and to establish relationships and to make an impact. I appreciate the value of my law degree. I never regretted the 3 years I spent in law school because of the big difference it made in my life. Why? Well, in my first law school class with Professor John Flynn, I was given a writing assignment, which he ripped to shreds and really deflated my ego. He taught me, I was not to regurgitate a bunch of facts. Rather, I was to learn critical thinking skills, to analyze the facts and the relationships and and observations and arrive at a sound conclusion. And also to see the issue from both sides and learn how to construct arguments that even make decisions with incomplete information. But always to ask the question, what if I'm wrong? Well, I've become better at learning and how to think and how to do things. I really like people who know how to do things. My ancestors who settled this valley, St. George, Star Valley, and the Bighorn of Wyoming, knew how to do great things. They built homes, roads, flour and grist mills, canals, and railroads. I've always wanted to be worthy of them. I established the Utah Days of 47 rodeo and built an arena on the fairgrounds to honor them. Well, being back in Utah for the campaign, I decided I didn't want to go back to Washington. I wanted to not end up just working for some department in government. Roger Boyer, with whom I had spent 3 years in a student ward bishopric during law school, approached me about forming a development company. I said, Roger, I don't know anything about business. I've never even had a business class. And he said, you don't have to know anything about business. I've got a Harvard MBA in business, but Kim, you know everybody. Well, Governor Rampton helped us told me I was not to leave the state, and he gave us a state building to help us get started. I don't know that that could happen today. Over the years, as it's turned out, we did develop millions of square feet of office, hotels, shopping centers, and industrial space across Utah, Idaho, and Nevada. And the smartest thing I did was to hire really smart lawyers to do the legal work. During my last few years with Christian, we've been doing some large renewable energy projects in Utah and Idaho. I liked working basically for myself because it gave me one of the great privileges of my life. Over the years, I've been able to give back both time and money to help with community service. A wise man once told me that you don't give very much when you give of your money, it's when you give of your time. Well, an example of getting things done was the airport. I always was so upset to arrive in Utah and have to get off on the ground despite the weather. And I was determined that we were going to have an upgraded airport with second level loading. And when we ran Ted Wilson as for mayor and he was elected, we ran it right out of my office. I asked if we could form an airport authority to make needed changes. We looked at the way the airport was funded with all of the revenues from concessions and parkings going to the airlines, and then they'd pay the difference for landing fees. Well, we put them on long-term leases. And we kept all of the other revenues to help us build terminals with second level loading. Proudest moment of my life was to dedicate a new terminal with second level loading. When Western attempted then to hub Salt Lake, it proved unsuccessful. They didn't have enough routes. And I suggested we visit the chairman of Delta, whom I had met many times in Washington. And so the mayor, chair of Western, and I, as chair of the airport authority, flew to Atlanta to pitch Delta on buying Western's planes and hubbing Salt Lake. That visit paid huge dividends, and Delta's move to Utah has added billions to our economy. Well, for many years, at a young age, I served, like Katie and James, as chair of higher education. And I realized I needed help. So I turned, one of the other smart things I did, I turned to Arvel Van Alstyne, my law professor, and persuaded him to become commissioner of higher education to guide us. Well, I even ran an unsuccessful race for governor, hoping to get more money for education. But then when Arvo died, his death was a terrible blow. Well, I served for many years in things that you can read about in the program. But probably now the most important thing would be the Kempsey Gardner Institute. It has really helped the state. I meant Policy Institute. It's really helped the state to find solutions to some of our major problems. Just last Wednesday, I met with Senator Collins of Maine, Chair of Appropriations for the Senate, with a few others to talk to her about funding for the Great Salt Lake. You know, our effort for the Great Salt Lake is to buy leases from the ranchers and farmers for their water, not buy the water, but lease it. And then we can use that water to help fill the Great Salt Lake. Why? Because 70% of our water is used by ranchers and farmers. Now, I don't need to tell you everything I've done because you can read it in the program and it's pretty boring. But Carol and I have been deeply motivated by the questions of how to give forward, pay forward for the many benefits that we've received here. How do we translate our values into action? How do we ensure the wealth we've created serves the community purpose? We continue to believe that our success is measured not by what we accumulate, but by what we contribute. To that end, like others, including some on the stand, we're trying to establish a large community foundation to give back. And I've told you all this, put you to sleep, and made myself look important. But I hope at some point I've motivated you to use your energies, your bright minds, in becoming involved in serving in your communities. Leadership is not defined by titles, but by your willingness to step forward, to engage, to participate, and to care about the future of your communities. Enough to do something about it. We need bright people who are willing to get involved. I love the leadership of my friend Mitt Romney. I met him while I was leading a Boston mission, and I later asked him to move to Utah and help us with our Olympic Games because we were in financial difficulty because of scandal. Well, a couple of weeks ago, he spoke at the Harvard Kennedy School and said the following: I have faith in America. We've got some real challenges and we're not addressing them effectively. We're going through some alternatives right now and it feels awful. But we have extraordinary advantages and we will succeed. But what we need, in my opinion, is a great leader or leaders in homes, churches, in universities, and institutions all over. Well, that's your assignment. Class of 26, you're stepping into a demanding world with a challenging economy, but fortunately, there's an underlying strength and resilience in Utah. We have the best economy in the nation. We have the lowest jobless rate. The Kempsey-Gardner Policy Institute states that this underlying strength is because of our diverse industries, our low unemployment, and our continued growth in wages, population, and sales. Consumer sentiment during February and March was up 3.1% in Utah, while in the rest of the nation it declined 5.8%. Utah is ranked first in the nation in terms of economic outlook. So you've chosen an extraordinary profession in an extraordinary time in an extraordinary state that's building something special. It's your turn. Your law degree gives you a map, or doesn't give you a map. Rather, it gives you the skills to navigate without one. I want to congratulate each of you. I know what a remarkable thing it is to work these 3 years. And I want to thank the many family members who are here who have supported you. I said to Carolyn, my wife who's here, did you in your wildest dreams ever think that I would be a speaker at the law school convocation? And she said, honey, you've never been in my wildest dreams. So here I am. I used to think when I was younger that if I was ever rich and powerful, I'd be happy. Man, was I right. Thank you all for listening through this, and congratulations, class of 26.
Well, we're out of order in the script. It's now my pleasure to welcome the graduates to the stage for their hooding. Please come forward.
The following individuals are graduating with a Master's of Legal Studies. Athalia Wicca. Jessica Nelson. Marina Downs. McKenna Neviker. Summer Curry. Ronak Iqbal. Polly Eden Shakespeare. Jacob Cope. Lucy Michelle Christensen. Michael John Reynolds, Jr. Parker Zollinger. Azim Mohammed. Angela Thompson. Abigail Santelli. Lily Linktree. Jessica France. Erica Santos Medina. Taylor Anderson Lockwood. Lisa Diane Zupancic. The following individuals will graduate with a degree of Juris Doctor. Andy Madsen. William Lovell. Christopher A. Smith. Zephram Childs. Angelo Haley. Austin Clark. Sebastian Wagner. Grant Boyden. Derek Thomas Peterson. Andrew Lowell Durham. Jack Wolthius, excuse me. Colin Michael Carroll. Bryant M. McConkey. John Paul Sandin. Kirsten Rule Davies. Maxwell David Archer. Casey Kerrigan. Wyatt Abraham Troll. Benjamin Stevens. Sydney Mikkel Wilson. Molly Wiedebenner. Chloe Madeline Keith. L. M. Breckenridge. Lindsay Allen. Sydney Tess Brubaker. Connor Davis. Hayden Trace Ridd. Joshua Dylan Sudicum. Benjamin Rhett Waterman. Kevin Charles Balser. Henry Luis Flitton. Camden David Reese. Raymond Mitchell Smith. Kyle William Andrews. Alex Dusnap. Matthew J. McGrath. Zachary Ryan Rose. Gavin Joseph McElroy. Calvin Strand. Thomas John Newman. Alessandra Grace Coote. Taylor Ann Pike. Charles J. Moffett. Alana Shelby Trombetta. Caitlin Grace Hoffling. Audrey L. Meyer. Natalie Taylor Willoughby. Braun Spencer Lohr. Aliza Murad. McKenna May Rauch. Hannah Jane Bruce. Megan Lauren Carlson. Ashlyn Nicole Hall. Cole Arnold. Samantha Jo Bidlack. Lydia Morgan Cook. Sophia Gulgulian. Dev Prakash Patel. Alexis Burke. Brenna Rochelle Johnson. Constance April Holder. Caroline Grace Condry. Robert Joseph Stevens. Sophie Sydney Jensen. Abigail Bonita Alexander. Johnny Harker. Amanda Moody. Madison Marie Sir. Gloria Estefany Aquino. Rachel Marie Banowitz. Cheyenne Blackburn. Sarah Margaret Gibson. Anya Biskupiak. Emily Sophia Pellegrino. Renee Krista Farmer. William Randy Clark. Claire Josephine Munsell. Victoria Carlisle Schmidt. Sonia Rose Chechik. Brady Ogden Fuller. Lane Allen Burgess. Kyle Wesley Lowe. Isaac Robert Santos. Ruben Z. Castron. Taylor Stephen Crittenden. Adriana Sanchez. Nita Morales. Andrea Braff. Ann Curtis Rather. Taylor J. Hill. Haley Green. Bree Faith Hickerson. Saren Abramson. Liesel Louise Jenkins. Brooke Michelle Hodson Davies. Ashley Christine Fink. Abby Forrest. Corbin Lamb. Francis Grover. Please join me in one last round of applause for our class of 2026.
Now, will the candidates please stand? And could I maybe get a drum roll, please? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the people of Utah, acting through their representatives in the legislature and on the State Board of Regents, and on the recommendation of the faculty of the university and the University Board of Trustees, I confer upon you a Master of Legal Studies, the degree of Masters of Law, and the degree of Juris Doctor, which entitles you to all the rights, privileges, and honors hereto appertaining. Congratulations. Please be seated. All right, come on, y'all. I ask that you rise and give it your all, recognizing this outstanding class of 2026 from the SJQ College of Law. Woo! Yes. Yes. Now, guests may exit the auditorium through the east and west doors in the auditorium as well as the main lobby. Please keep the way clear for others by meeting your guests and family across the street in President's Circle. Once you exit the venue, there'll be no re-entry, so look underneath your seats and everywhere around you. Make sure you have everything. Now, thank you all for joining us today in this celebration of accomplishments and new beginnings. But before we close, graduates, I would like to provide you the chance to recognize one more very special group of folks with us here today. Graduates, I ask you to rise, turn to the audience. These are the people that helped you get to your achievement we recognize today. With your applause and cheers, would you please let your wives, your husbands, your spouses, your partners, your children, parents, grandparents, family members, and friends know how very much you appreciate them. That concludes our convocation ceremony. If you're able to attend, I invite you all to join us at the College of Law for a party celebrating our graduates. Congratulations, class of 2026.